Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Alico creating video and social media with mobile and tablets with Adobe Premiere Pro session. It's 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and I hope everyone are safe and sound. And let's get on with our project today. Okay, I'm going to close this Acrobat, and I'm using Adobe Premiere CC 2020 today. So before I jump into the Adobe Premiere, I have to mention a few things about the actual shooting of footage and using your mobile devices as the camera. I discovered that iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, I'm not really sure about iPhone 10 or earlier, iPhone 6 and 7 didn't have that issue before, but you can investigate that. I'm not sure about the iPad Pro or some of their newer iPads, but they have a video settings that if you shoot video, that video is not very compatible with Adobe Premiere or any Windows. In fact, you might be able to play it with programs such as VLC, but is not compatible. So first thing you do with your mobile devices, your Android should be okay. If you're on Android, Androids are usually don't have these problems. I recommend to go to your settings and then find the camera app, camera. And once you find a camera, select that camera option, and you should have a few things to consider. For example, when it comes to recording video, I set mine to 1080 at 30 frames per second. Despite my phone has lower resolution and a higher resolution with a more frame rate, I decided to go with a 1080 30 frame because I'm planning to export this video for social media, and shooting at 60 frames per second has no benefit. As a matter of fact, social media, they're usually lowering the frame rate in order to preserve the amount of bandwidth it requires for video playback. Therefore, is a waste of phone memory or your computer memory. In fact, if you try to play that video, same thing shooting at 4K. 4K give us a better option when it comes to framing it. But the problem with the 4K is also requires a lot more powerful computer, and then you have to scale the video down to either 1080p or 720 or 640 by 640 for the Twitter, and that's also add an extra option and extra time you have to spend to reduce the video dimensions to be able to fit it. So they give you definitely a benefit from a quality wise, but also requires a much more powerful computer to process it. But the most important thing about setting up your iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, as far as I know, is the options under the format. Now make sure under the format, check the most compatible. If you don't enable that option and leave it to high efficiency, what's going to happen is your video will not be compatible with very much anything in Windows. Premiere cannot play that video, and you might need a iMovie or Final Cut 10, and definitely they need a plugin for it as well, or make sure you have the latest version of it, otherwise it won't work. Since it's an Apple, I'm sure Apple will let you to update it and get everything to function properly, but definitely with Premiere is not possible. Even you're on a Mac, is not going to happen. I tested. The only way I could use that high efficiency is I use a VLC program and convert the file into a different format. So make sure you enable that option. Also, if you're shooting a slow motion, I set mine to 720 at 240 frames. I want more frame rates than a resolution. So that's the settings I have. So since you got those settings fixed and ready to go, you should be able to shoot your video and import it to Premiere with no problem. Here's my Premiere CC 2020. I'm going to start a new project and selecting a folder on my desktop, Alico Popcorn as my reference, and all my files will be saved in there. I'm just going to call this project Alico Popcorn. Make sure you select your renderer to a Mercury playback with the GPU enabled. You might have an OpenCL or you might have a CUDA. If you don't have a GPU enabled, try to select the CUDA one. The CUDA is much more powerful than OpenCL is, in my opinion, of course. And NVIDIA makes different graphic cards than, for example, AMD or Intel does, and they are usually much better with Adobe Premiere because they were the first company and Adobe made it more compatible with them. Software only requires your CPU to render video, so will be a much slower. I'm going to select the CUDA. I'm going to leave everything as is. My scratch disk sits as the same as project, so everything will be nice and clean, and I don't have to ingest anything as far as the 4K footages goes because mine is not a 4K. I'm going to click OK, and here's my Premiere Pro. Let me reset my screen so you guys can see my screen is very simplified. Program panel, the timeline. I have a source, effect controls, and an audio mixer. And down here, I have a project panel, media browser, and effects. That's all I need at the moment. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click on Browse, Media Browser. And I hit the tilde key to maximize it. I'll go to my home directory. And the folder that I have stuff on it is the Alico Popcorn. When I'm selecting that folder, you will see that's our Premiere project. We just saved it a few minutes ago. And I have 4 video clips. I'm going to select all these 4 clips using the Shift key or Control key on a PC or a Command key on a Mac. I right-click on one of them and I select Import. All of them is being placed inside my project panel. If you look at the option called a frame rate, you will see first 3 clips are set at 29.97. This is the drop frame time code, which is technically 30 frames per second, but the last one is at 240. That's the slow motion footage that I use the phone with. So let's take a look at the first clip. This is the first clip. I'm gonna get rid of those markers, by the way. So this is not gonna affect anybody. We're gonna make the markers later for it. I'm not gonna run the video full screen because it will put too much of a bandwidth stress on the system. So I'm gonna play it as is. And this clip is about 5 minutes and 21 seconds. I want you guys to watch at least part of it. Can I make sure my audio is loud and everybody should be able to hear it?
Yeah. Come on in. Your timing is perfect. I gotta show you something. I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker. The Alico culture is relaxed. We want people to come here and enjoy themselves. We've made lots of changes to our office. And our most recent change is the addition of our old style popcorn maker. Now this baby is going to come out from storage every now and then. We're going to give our clients a nice surprise. We're going to make some popcorn for them at some point during the day. Let them have a nice little snack. Want to see how it works? Yeah.
So as you can see, I'm the cameraman, and
yes, all right.
I'm the behind the scene here, and I use the iPhone 11, not the Pro version, just a normal iPhone 11 to shoot this thing. And of course, he's talking about the popcorn machine, how that operates, and then shows how the packages are.
Popcorn comes with a side pouch of good.
So anyway, I'm gonna skip forward. And then look, he's going to the kitchen. He tried to open the popcorn package and he put it inside that the pot in there, and all of these things right there.
Nice and hot.
And it smells like a butter, and everything else is good. Then he goes forward and put the popcorn, the kernels in there. Of course, when you put the kernels in, it'll take a couple of more minutes. So he's describing also, we have something on the screen here called the
marker board.
The marker
which
board.
We encourage anyone to come on in and at any time that they're not in class, if they want to doodle.
So let me tell you something about this video. This is non-scripted video. You probably can see that. And he's just talking about the popcorn machine. The problem is Craig loves to talk and a very sociable and very happy-go-lucky guy. And you guys being in our office, you know that. And he loves the office and the company and people that works there and the clients. So he's very excited about the popcorn and all the new things. The thing is, all of these things are great. However, it's not going to help me to produce a video for social media that I need the video to be somewhere between 60 to 70 seconds. So the first clip, he's not even making a popcorn yet. It's a 5 minutes and 21. There's a lot of things has to go. Despite the whiteboard is a nice thing and the TV and everything else he's talking about, it's not important because the most important thing is that popcorn machine that I need to make a video about. So what's that second clip? Another clip we have, of course, I had to stop the video because shooting a one full session non-stop would basically make a one very massive file size in my phone. And beside the popcorn will take a 2-3 minutes to start basically popping. So I didn't have time to waste and wait for it. So I basically stopped the phone, changed the camera angle until the whole thing start getting ready. So here it is.
All right. We are moments away from popcorn awesomeness. As you can see, the kettle is popping.
Again, he's talking about it and how the machine operates. All the thing is great. Close the door, open the loading tray.
Yes. All right.
So as you guys can see, I'm there, and one of the instructor's daughter is there, Jordan. She's a very cute little girl, and she was so excited to having a popcorn, and she kept laughing in the back. She's having a great time.
All right.
Right there. And third option is the one that, because look, he was looking for the popcorn, the plastic container, but he couldn't find it because he misplaced it. Again, none of these things was scripted. So we have a problem now as an editor to fix these things and make it look very professional. Now, how I'm going to do that is by cutting some of the part out and make sure everything else is looking great. So I have 3 clips. They're probably going to be around the 7 or 8 minutes, and I have to squeeze it down to about 60 to 70 seconds. The last clip I have is I shoot it in slow motion because I thought to myself, you know, it would be kind of cool if you watch it in slow motion and the kernels are falling. So I'm just going to show you the guys right here in the middle of it somewhere that the popcorn is actually coming out. Right here. Now you're going to say, well, what kind of slow motion is this? Because what you see, wait for it. The video looked normal to me when I'm playing it. It looks a little sharper than usual, but it's normal. Why? Because Premiere plays this clip at 240 frames. Now, of course, this shot in the slow motion, you thought if you bring in slow motion footage inside the Premiere will play it in the slow motion. Premiere will not. Premiere tried to play it at the original frame rate. Now, unless you have a 240 hertz monitor and your Premiere is in a tip-top shape with the fastest graphic cards, playing a 1080p video at 240 frames is very difficult. So I right-click on a clip. I go to the Modify, select Interpret Footage. When I select Interpret Footage, I'm able to change the frame rate of the video to whatever I want. So I type 30. 30 is 8 times slower than the original speed. If I put it to 24, then I have it 10 times the slow motion. I'll click OK. Now you will notice that the video appears as a 30 frame per second. The same video inside my source panel. If I play the same thing now, you will see something strange. Have you guys noticed that? Well, I don't think you guys can notice that, but if you pay attention to the light flicker. And you hear everybody's voices are slower due to the fact I slow it down. Now, if I show you the same scene that popcorns are coming out, the kernels, look. That's what happened if you watch it on your phone, if you shoot slow motion. So that looks good. I cannot use the audio, so we're going to skip that part later on. There we go. So I have all my footages. Now, you need to categorize all your footages into a two list. The A list and a B list, or an A roll and a B roll. You can create a bin, for example, call this thing A roll. And I grab all those 3 clips that are my main clips inside the A roll, and I can create a new bin called B roll. And I place the clip, which is a B roll, the slow motion, inside of that. If you have a lot of clips, definitely do that. If you have only a few of them, not necessarily. Like I have a 4, and after I use these 3, the other one is standing out because it's a 30 frame per second. You guys can also go to your project panel, find the option called description. There's a tab, bring it right in there, and inside the description, call this thing B-roll if you want to, or the slow-mo. There's a lot of things you can do. This is again pretty straightforward. I start with the first clip. Now, the first clip I have is the door. This is the one. Yep. Now, if I play this clip, you guys will notice at the very beginning of it, I was in the hallway. I had to wait a bit before I enter. And I had to adjust my phone. And somebody was walking behind me. I had to let the person to pass through. And then I readjust the camera angle, I told Craig to count to 10 or something, then open the door. So as you can see, everything looks good. I'm gonna roll back my playhead, and just the door, before the door just opens, right here, I will create an in point. I press I on the keyboard to create the in point, or you guys can click on this little guy here, call a mark in. And my video starts from that point. To the end of it, I'm not really sure where to end this thing. However, I know a lot of these things at the end of it, I don't want that. I want the video to be about the popcorn machine. So I'm going to go forward and I'll find a spot when he's about to put the kernels in there. When he's talking in here, let's see what he says.
You want to see how it works? Yes. All right.
I don't want to hear myself when I say yes. So I'm going to click on a little audio tab. They're called drag audio. Don't drag anything, of course. I'm going to zoom into the timeline, and I'm going to listen to it.
You want to see how it works?
Right there. This is how it works right here. I press O on the keyboard. Now what I have is an area between the in and out point. Of course, the in and out point now is a 55 seconds, is not the 3 minutes or something, or 5 minutes. I grab this clip and drag it inside an empty timeline. Adobe Premiere will create a timeline for me. I need to get rid of my empty audio and video tracks. So I'm going to right click, select delete tracks, get rid of the empty audio and video tracks. Once I get rid of it, I can push my video session up and expand my audio track, because it's easier to see the timeline when you're working with the audio. I'm going to play the timeline. That's not bad.
Yeah, come on in. Your timing is perfect.
So I'm just going to play this thing. That looks good. He's talking.
Popcorn for them at some point during the day. Let them have a nice little snack. Want to see how it works?
And then I'm going to go to my A-roll and I'm going to select the second clip that shows the popcorns. They're actually a start.
All right.
So this is kind of good. I don't need an end point for it because the video starts really good. What about the end of it?
So
I'm not really sure about the out point. So what I would do is I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to use the option override or insert, doesn't matter in each part, to place the clip at the end of my second clip. Right there. Now I have two clips back to back. And I'm going to load the third clip. My third clip, again, he starts talking from the very beginning.
let's have some popcorn.
Then he's about to put a popcorn in there, and he just handed it to me. And by the way, these popcorns are very, very, very delicious.
I'm gonna treat the cameraman. We'll make sure that we take care of you guys, that you can enjoy this as well. It is delicious, and it is nutritious.
It is true. So I'm going to click on the override again or insert. Again, at the end, doesn't matter which one you use. Now I have three clips. When I'm looking at the timeline, I have 3 minutes and 2 seconds worth of video, but I need to squeeze it down to 60 seconds, or 60 to 70, 75 seconds maximum. That's the tricky part about this assignment. Couple of things I can do. I already have a spot to make it a little bit faster. For example, this part.
I'm gonna show you something.
This part, he's walking all the way through the hallway. I don't need to show this thing. I have an option. I can actually do a time remap by making it walk faster, or I can completely cut it out. If I want to make I better make my timeline different name. I'm going to call this thing, no, you know what? I'm going to call this thing normal cut. Then I'm going to duplicate it just to test it. And I'm going to call this thing test. Now, I'm going to load the test here to show you what the problems are with the time remap. Let's just say from here, I need to do a time remap. If I want to do a time remap, the problem with time remap is time remap doesn't time remap the audio, only does the video. So it's a no-go. If you want to see it, I right-click on the little effects there, select time remap speed. Now, if I push my video up, I can create a marker for it by holding a command or control key. Then I go to the part that I want to stop, and I make another marker. The moment I grab that line and move the line up to, let's say, to 1,000% to make it faster, this is the result. Have you noticed what happened? The video now works really well. The moment he opens the door, it goes quick. See? But now all the lips and everything else is offset.
I want to show you our new.
Because time remap only affects the video session, not the audio. So it's never designed for, excuse me, it's never designed for somebody that just want to speed up or slow down a segment of the video. You have to cut it out and only apply to the video session. So that's the tricky part. That's not going to work. There's another option we have. Let me put the time remap off by put it back to the default. Is the cutting it and use something called a rate change. Let's just say I'm going to go here and I'm going to use a razor blade to cut it. Then I'm going to go somewhere else here, for example, before he's turning, and I cut that portion out as well. Now I can select the middle one, right-clicking on it in Premiere, select the option Speed Duration, change the speed, for example, to 600%. Then I select the option Ripple Delete. Don't worry about the interpolation because you're not slowing it down. You speed it up, so it doesn't matter which one you select. Okay. Look what happened. It brought everything forward. If I play it,
Timing is perfect.
it goes faster.
I wanted to show you our...
Unless you want to do something like that. You've seen it a lot in TV shows, especially the Discovery Channel. There's somebody walking through the hallway or show you the warehouse, stuff like that. Is a tour inside, I don't know, one of those Hollywood Marvel studios. There's a big hallway. They do something like that. You don't want to cut anything, but you want to show how massive that place is. That's not my intention. My intention is not talking about the office, is the popcorn machine. So I rather to get rid of it completely. Again, that's your option. You can do either version, but time remap is not working here. You need to do a speed change. So I leave that test alone, and I'm going to go back to my original. So how can I cut it out? The cutting actually is tougher than increasing the speed. So in here, I'm going to look at the audio, and it says right here when he says timing is perfect.
Come on in, your timing is perfect.
So I stop here, and I use again the razor to cut it, but I don't need to make it 2 cuts. I use a tool called the ripple. I better make my screen the same larger size so you guys can see it better. And I place the ripple at the end of a cut right here. I'm selecting the clip so you guys can see where I am. I click and drag it forward. You guys can see the beginning and the end, and I wait until he's about to turn right here. Now I can leave it like this, and I can play the video.
Your timing is perfect. I wanted to show you our...
Or I can ripple it slightly backwards, let him to turn around.
Perfect. I wanted to show you... Perfect.
I haven't decided yet. I have to look at the audio at the moment. Listen to the audio first.
It's perfect. I wanted to show you our...
Is it smooth? If I tried it a lot more, the audio might sound kind of weird.
It's perfect. I wanted to show you...
Actually, it's not too bad. So I'm going to look at the video session with the ripple. And I actually like him to turn already. If I do something like this, I cut a little bit of his audio, by the way.
I wanted to show you our...
See? So I'll pull it back a little bit, and I will come back to this thing when we finish tidying it up by using something called a J cut and an L cut. I'll definitely show you that. So stay tuned.
I wanted to show you...
So it looks good so far. I better save my project. So if something going to happen to Premiere, hopefully not going to affect us, we're going to start again. I'm going to go to the next cut. The next cut is this.
You want to see how it works?
Now, one thing I'm not sure where to cut this clip. Remember, I have a lot to cut. I have a 2 minutes and 44 at the moment. I'm making a little idea here. Let me go on the timeline. I press, I go to the 1 second exact, sorry, 1 minute. 1 frame short. And I press M twice to create a marker. I will call this thing 60 sec marker, and I will give him a bit of a duration. Let's say by about 15 seconds. Now, if you look on my timeline, this is the duration that I want to have for my social media, 60 seconds. And the green area, I have a bit of an extra here. So if I finish it a little bit later here or here and here, is not end of the world. My goal is try to minimize the whole cut, bring the whole thing down to fit within this area. And if I'm a little bit off, then so be it. I mean, it's not a big deal if you're 10 frames, 10 seconds, 3 seconds extra over the 60, like 65 or 70 is already still all right. So that's my goal. I'll make a marker, so I'm kind of keep an eye on it. And the marker, of course, will be accessible from the markers panel. Now, when it comes to this clip, I need to squeeze this thing down. There are 2 possibilities for me. Please watch this session.
Change the addition of our Old style popcorn maker.
You know what's a funny thing? Every time I look at this clip, I start laughing because Craig forgot the name of the popcorn maker or popcorn machine. And it's kind of funny, as you can see, this is not a scripted. So he's he's trying to figure out what was the name of the machine anyway. So I can stop at here.
Style popcorn maker.
That's the one possibility for me. So I'm not sure, do I want it here or the other part? Which one I should cut? I select the clip and I press M twice. Pressing M twice will make a marker and then opens the marker. I don't need to name it. I can call this thing, option 1. And I'll give it a red color because green on a blue is difficult to see the marker. So that's the one option I have. And the second option I have is playing it forward.
Now this thing is going to come out from storage every now and then. We're going to give our clients a nice surprise. We're going to make some popcorn for them at some point during the day. Let them have a nice little snack. You want to see how it works?
Of course, I'm going to stop here and I make a new marker for it. You guys are going to say, why are you making 2 markers? One wasn't enough. I'll call this thing option 2. Well, the thing is, if I roll this thing back, I might lose that spot. Remember, I can roll it and I can ripple it like I did earlier, right? So here's a ripple. If I ripple it to here and I play the video.
Old style popcorn maker.
Now, I don't like it. For example, if I don't like it, I'm not going to undo it. I'm just going to roll it backwards or ripple it backwards. You see that? That's the marker. I'm just going to ripple it back to that marker. So I'm basically not trying to burn the bridges here. Keep both of them there. I'm not sure about this area yet, but I'm going to move on to the next one. Let's look at the next clip.
All right. We are moments away from popcorn awesomeness. As you can see, the kettle is popping in full force. We've got beautiful popcorn spewing out, and in about a minute, maybe even less, it's going to be done. We're going to kill the burner, and we're going to shake it all out. We're going to enjoy some delicious popcorn.
So you probably can hear Jordan in the back is still laughing.
Popcorn.
So let's just say I don't want to hear her. Personally, I like that, but let's just say we want to cut it out.
Delicious popcorn.
I'm going to zoom into the timeline because when I look at the audio, I can actually can hear and see when she's laughing. I think it's right here.
Delicious popcorn.
So I move my playhead back, and that's all I'm going to use from this timeline. I will place the ripple at the end of that clip, and I ripple it all the way there. Now, when I've done that, as you can see, now the duration is 1 minute and 59, which is way better than what it was. So I'm going to play the next clip.
We're going to enjoy some delicious popcorn.
Now, the next 2 clips are a little bit more tricky because he's showing how to grab the scoop and everything else. I don't need to see that. This is not a video about how the popcorn machine works. Well, he said how to make popcorn. So you don't really need to know where he got the paper from, where the scoop being placed inside. I don't need any of those things. So I'm going to go forward and I start the video pretty much from here when he's actually start handing out the popcorn. Especially the last one, because he's going to keep redoing the same thing here, right there. See, that's a nice spot. So I'll trim it again from that spot forward by rippling it. Now I am at 1 minute and 32 seconds. So if I play it, it looks like this.
We're going to enjoy some delicious popcorn.
It's a lot easier because remember the goal in here is making a popcorn video and showing the machine, not how the machine works. Now there's a part that
to my Eloquo Nation, here we have delicious theater style popcorn.
Of course, I really like that popcorn and you guys can hear me.
You're coming in for a class? You let me know if you want some popcorn. I'm gonna treat the cameraman. We'll make sure that we take care of you guys.
So I'm going to stop the video around this part.
Delicious theater-style popcorn.
When he says delicious theater-style popcorn. Before I make a yummy sound. So I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to, again, ripple it. Wow. It's a 1 minute and 14 seconds. So I'm at 74 seconds, which is kind of roughly the area that I want the video to be. I can even shorten it more about this part. Remember that part? I'm going to go with the shorter version. When I play it, let's play the whole thing from the beginning, shall we?
Yeah, come on in. Your timing is perfect. I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker. The local culture is relaxed. We want people to come here and enjoy themselves. We've made lots of changes to our office. And our most recent change is the addition of our old-style popcorn maker. All right. We are moments away from popcorn awesomeness. As you can see, the kettle is popping in full force. We've got beautiful popcorn spewing out. And in about a minute, maybe less, it's going to be done. We're going to kill the burner, and we're going to shake it all out, and we're going to enjoy some delicious popcorn. And to my Eloquo Nation, here we have delicious theater-style popcorn.
There we go. I was just playing with the time code. I hope I didn't distract you guys. So here, I'm just going to put since I reduced my duration slightly lower than a second, Adobe Premiere moved the marker also because it tried to stay within that 1 second. So as you can see, I'm exactly at 59 seconds and 18 frames. So this is actually good, a starting point. Now there's a couple of rough spots in there that I like to fix. Let's talk about this area. The first cut. Let's look at this one.
It's perfect.
I like the audio. If I turn the video off and you guys listen to audio, the audio timing and continuity is good to me.
It's perfect. I wanted to show you our new.
But when it comes to the cut itself, if you just watch it without hearing it, the cut is a little bit rough for me. I would like to create something known as a L cut. I select a tool known as the rolling tool. Remember, when you select in a roll, the audio and video is linked together. So you need to hold the Option key or Alt key on a Windows and a Mac, and then I can click and drag the video independently. As you can see, I didn't touch the audio, but I moved the video cut forward. By moving the video cut forward, I can have more of these clips and less of these clips. This is known as an L cut. Why L cut? Because the shape of the audio look like an L shape, just like a letter L right here, known as the L cut. In L cut, the video stops playing, but the audio of the current clip or the previous clip continue playing. So if I play it,
it's perfect. I want to show you our.
It looked like this. If I do the J cut instead, the J cut, what's going to happen is the audio of an incoming clip plays first, then a video. J cut is usually more film style, and a lot of movies and TV shows they use a J cut. As you can see, the shape of an audio track in front will create a shape of a J, letter J, known as a J cut. So when I play it, it sounds and look like this.
Perfect. I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker.
Now, if you watch this thing very carefully, I'm just going to exaggerate it.
Perfect. I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker.
This might make it a little bit easier to create a transition because the audio and video doesn't change directly. So when I play it,
come on in. Your timing is perfect. I wanted to show you our new pop.
Of course, sometimes weird part is he's not talking, and then you hear, I want to show you the popcorn machine. It might become a little bit annoying. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit. And then when I play it back, it should be all right.
Your timing is perfect. I wanted to show you our new pop.
There. It's a lot smoother when you're watching the cut, especially the audio. I can, again, make it a J cut, or I can make it into an L cut. L cut is when you like the guy, Craig, walks and they turn around.
Your timing is perfect.
See?
I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker.
It's kind of weird though. He's standing and he's walking, unless that's your goal. But again, we can have a debate on this thing. Which one looks better, this one or this one?
Perfect. I wanted to show you our.
I prefer the J cut at the moment for this clip. So I'm gonna go to the next cut. The next cut is this.
Style popcorn maker. All right. We are moments away from popcorn awesomeness. As you can see, the kettle is popping in full.
Not bad, not bad. I like it. I'm gonna go forward.
And we're gonna shake it all out. We're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
There we go. Now, I'm gonna deal with the previous clip later, but this part, what I would do is, let's just say, this is a rough cut. When I'm playing it, it is a little bit rough to me as well.
We're gonna shake it all out. We're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
What I can do, I can create an L cut, so you guys can have a bit of the part when he's scooping the popcorn. However, you will hear him talking like this.
And we're gonna shake it all out. We're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
As you can see, his face is off the camera. Some people don't like that because his jaw won't move, and then you hear something is kind of weird. You can see TVs and movies. If you watch it very carefully, sometimes you can see this happens. This is a trick they use to line up the two clips the best they can, known as the L cut.
Kill the burner, and we're gonna shake it all out. We're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
Or I can turn it into a J cut. J cut probably not gonna look very good.
And we're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
See? Because he's still waiting for the machine to finish. It's not gonna look very good. So I'm gonna go with the J cut in a much shorter, much milder version of it. Something like this.
And we're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
There. Not too much, just maybe a couple of frames, maybe half a second overlap.
We're gonna enjoy some delicious popcorn.
There. That looks good to me. So right now, my video is almost there. Again, this is a rough cut. I can keep working at it and make it look better. But there's a couple of spots that I need to still fix. This is one of them.
Popcorn maker. All right.
I would like to add that B-roll that I had. I shoot that B-roll, let me open it there, as a slow motion in here. So I got an idea. I want that B-roll to be added here because I don't like, this camera look pretty good here.
All right.
Let's just say, hypothetically, that my camera work wasn't very good here, and I moved the camera and the camera was shaky, or I just didn't like some part of it.
All right.
I can fix that by using something called a cutaway, especially for slow motion. I cannot use the audio, so I'm going to go somewhere here before the camera rotates. You see it right there? Right there. I press I on the timeline. Then I go forward. When Craig is going to say, all right, right there, I press O. On my timeline, I need to pick a spot for input. So let's see. Something nice. I need a popcorn close to the camera. So think about the slow motion. You got to search. Okay, there's one right here. So I'm going to go and press I on the keyboard when I found the proper frame right there. I don't need to worry about the in point or out point of anything else because I got a 3-point editing. So all I need to do is turn the audio track, the destination audio off. That means audio doesn't have anywhere to go. Source is there, but there's no destination. There's no destination for it. As you can see, audio is not highlighted anymore. Only the video portion. I click on overwrite. Have you noticed the video? I can even turn this thing off to make it easier. The video being replaced, but the audio haven't been changed yet. So here, when I play it,
All right.
if I don't turn the audio source and destination track, and when I do the override, the section of audio will be replaced. And that's not exactly what I want. I want a sound of this portion. By turning the destination off, sometimes it's not enough. When I do this thing, still the audio comes in. Why? Because the source audio is still selected. If I turn the source, which is this audio, off, and destination is on, has no effect on it. I usually recommend to turn both of them off. So in this case, you're not going to add any kind of blank audio or anything. In some cases, you might run into a bit of an issue. So turning both of them off is the best option. So when I play it, you hear the popcorn from this clip, the audio, and now I have a popcorn on the top. So let's take a look.
All right.
Now, obviously, if you want this clip to be longer or shorter, you got to use the rolling tool. With the roll, I can roll the clip, make it shorter or longer if I have to. I'll make it something like this. Not too short, not too long.
All right. We are.
Or I can let it go to the part when it says we are.
All right. We are.
There we go. Again, so many options you have. You have to choose what you want to do with this. I'm happy with it. I'm going to save my project. Now, a couple of other things I have to do. First of all, once I listen to let me load the first clip for you guys. This clip. I want you guys to listen to the audio for a second. Right here. I'm going to go to the beginning of a timeline and play just a little bit. This is nice because Craig doesn't talk here and you hear the noise outside. That's the noise from the air conditioning and AC running inside the building. Actually, that at the time was a heating and fan running inside the building. This video, I shot it in, I think it was a first week of January or second week of January. I can't remember. You guys can see there's a little snow and, of course, life was normal back then. And the street was noisy. There was a car, buses, people. There was a classroom running in the office. I think it was 2 classrooms were running. There was a bit of a instructor talking in one of the classes. So the iPhones are designed to pick up a lot of voices around when you shoot video because they want to have a clear voice and audio in there. So they're not a very directional microphone like a shotgun microphone. So it might pick up a lot of noise as it did in the hallway. I need to fix these things. There's one problem I have. If I use the, let's just say an audio filter, try to clean up this one, I have to apply to this one, and this one. I'm not going to do that because if something goes wrong with my audio filter, I have to go back and fix one by one each individual. So I decide to do a little bit of a work and create an option called nesting. I'm going to select all the clips. I right click on one of them and choose an option nest. When I nest it, Premiere asked me what's the name of this nest. I'm going to call this thing Final. When I click OK, the entire timeline turns green, the audio and video. In this case, if I double click on an audio or video session, it goes back to my original timeline. So there's no changes. I can go make changes to it if I wanted to, and obviously applies to my nested object. The advantage in here is if I apply a filter to the nest, applies to all of it because it's a one clip. In a way, like in Photoshop, think about it, you kind of like a flatten a photo that you can apply a filter, applies pretty much to everything in there. I'll go to Window, Essential Sound, and I select the audio, and I click on a dialog. I will turn everything off except the repair. And when I expand the repair, underneath, I see an option called Reduce Noise. When I enable it, I'm going to play the video from the beginning. I want you guys to listen to it without the noise reduction. You heard it. You guys can hear a lot of noise in the back. I can volume it up so it's much more audible. Now look what the noise reduction does. The same clip. If I play it without it and then enable it, you guys can hear the difference.
Come on in, your time.
So again, if I play it without it, with it, I can push it all the way to 10, but that makes the sound a bit more, sounds like sounds coming from a funnel.
Yeah, come on in, your timing is perfect.
I rather to keep it around the 5 or 6. In this case, I'll leave it to, let's say, 5.5.
I want to show you our new popcorn.
So the audio is a much cleaner. Another thing I got to do is, I'm going to close this panel. By the way, if I go to my effect controls, this is a filter is responsible for it called denoise. If I click on edit, this is an Adobe Audition filter that applied, and this thing also has a different setting. I'm not going to touch any of those settings, but that's from Adobe Audition. I'm going to leave it as is. One other thing I need to do is adjusting the volume. As you notice that this is a volume, I'll leave it to -12.
The uncle culture is relaxed.
It's not bad, but I would right click on it, select the audio gain, then I choose normalize all peaks to, for a social media, I'll go with a -6 because I want to be louder. A lot of people playing these videos on their mobile devices, and we know some people use headphones, most of them they don't. I just want to make sure the audio is loud enough.
I want people to come here and enjoy themselves. We've made lots of changes to our office, and our most recent change.
Wow, audio is a lot cleaner and way easier to hear. You can hear the street noise.
Old style popcorn maker.
Now you don't. So that's good. Very good. Now I'm very happy with it. The next step, I need to do some work with the actual color. I found that this video is a bit too saturated. So I can go to the window and look at Lumetri scopes. Well, look at the Lumetri scopes. I'm looking at this clip, and in the vector scope, I feel like it's a bit oversaturated. It's just too much. iPhone and Android phone, they try to make the video oversaturated because it looks nicer, but to me, that looks too red. So I'll go to my RGB parade. I'm looking at the red, green, and blue, and to be honest with you, red is a bit too strong for me here and is oversaturated. So I go to Window, Lumetri Color, and I will look for an option called Saturation under the Basic Correction. and I will reduce the saturation just a tad, just like this. If I go too much, then I make the video completely black and white, of course. By the way, there's a session coming up, the color correction with Premiere, in the upcoming days. So please tune to that one or register for it. I will go and talk about the lumetri and scopes and the lumetri color in a greater depth, about 3 hours. So you're going to learn a lot about these options I'm using right now. I'm just gonna get rid of these settings. Everything looks good. By the way, lumetri is a filter being applied already to the video right here. So everything looks good. And now the two things I got to do. One of the options for social media video, by the way, I can apply a fade in, fade out by using a Control D or Command D. This will add the fading transition. Now, if you want to use a different transition, go to the effects, video transitions, dissolve, and for example, you can use a different dissolve. I just use a cross dissolve by dragging it at the front of it and dragging at the end, or select a clip, use a shortcut, Control D or Command D. That means apply video default transition. And that's what it does. So the video fade in and a fade out very, very nicely. Now at the end, I may not like this thing because he said, let's just have some popcorn. Right here, let me play it. Now that's not very good because the video fade out. What I can do here is I can expand it. Of course, you're gonna say how with the tool we have like this. But the thing is, there's nothing before it. Sorry, there's nothing after it. I have to go to my final, hit the end key, and here I can actually do that. Just to give them a little bit extra. When I go back to my normal, now I can expand it. So if I play it,
delicious season style popcorn.
So let's just say I want him to have a popcorn like this, a little bit more, before I reach for it right there. I want to fade it out. Obviously, again, I can pull it for an extra couple of seconds. But the problem is my voice. Let's just say I like this one. I'll go a little bit more and fade it out here. There. I know this sounds very annoying. So I use a control key by clicking on the audio volume line. I click on twice, then I drag it down. This will volume down my voice. I'm not going to cut my audio, but I'm just going to volume it down. That's it. Again, I can just keep playing with this thing until I'm happy with the end result. So as you can see, sometimes adding a simple transition can cause some headache as well, especially at the end. Or I could completely remove the transition at the end. We need to do two more things. We need to add closed captioning for it because it has to be accessible. But before that, I need to make sure this video is nice and ready for Twitter. Twitter has this weird square resolution video. The video is a square at 640 by 640. So I'm going to make a Twitter, a special video for this project. I'm going to go to File, New Sequence. I'm going to select the settings. There is no settings or preset for it unless you're going to make one. I'm going to go to the settings, change the editing mode to custom, change the ratio, pixel aspect ratio to 1 square pixel, no field, 29.97 non-drop frame, and I'm going to type 640 by 640. So once I made this custom made, I can save it as a preset called for example, my TW, I think I spelled it wrongly, Twitter, but will be in the list eventually, right there. I OK. Now, as you can see, I have a custom-made a square 640 by 640 Twitter. I grabbed my final project, which called, sorry, this one called a normal cut, and I drag it inside. I got to make sure my audio is enabled, by the way. I drag it inside this timeline. Premiere immediately say, wait a minute, the original one is a 1920 1080. This is 640. It's not going to fit. I say, you know what? Keep the existing settings. When I zoom into it, to the timeline, and I play it, it looks like this. Let's take a look.
Yeah, come on in. Your timing is perfect.
So when I play the video, it looks awkward because obviously the original footage, let me put this thing on the side. If I find the same time code for you, 1614. So I'm just going to copy and paste the time code. So take a look. This is the same clip that I shot it, and this is the Twitter version of it. As you can see, it's difficult for me to frame it, but don't worry about it. I reduced the scale under the effect controls motion scale to, let's just say, lower. You have a couple of options. You have one option of fitting the whole thing, then you end up with a black bars on the top and the bottom. Or I can make it a little bit larger and fit it the top and the bottom, but I'm going to lose a bit of a side. I'm going to go with a 60%. So as you can see, I'm losing a bit on the left side and a bit on the right side. This is better than nothing. But in many of the cases like this thing, for example, in here, when Craig is talking,
In a minute, maybe even less, it's going to be done.
4201. 4201. Now, this is actually not a bad shot. You have him on the one side and a popcorn. But because the Twitter 640 by 640 is more like this frame right here, you end up with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. For fixing this issue, I'm going to use a new feature in Adobe Premiere that Adobe uses an AI called Adobe Sensei to taking care of it. So look what happened. Watch this frame, please. I'm going to go to my effects and type auto, or you can go to video effects. Sorry, video effects, not a video transition. Under the transform, the filter called auto reframing. Auto reframing uses graphic cards, the GPU acceleration, so it's very quick. I grab it and I drag it over the video, and look what happens. There's two things happening: the analyzing and applying it. Wait for it. It'll take a couple of seconds. Done. Look what it did. It repositioned Craig at the center of the screen automatically. Otherwise, some of you done the animation before, you know that's a nightmare, right? I have to readjust the position manually. So when I play the video, he's in a frame.
About a minute, maybe even less, it's going to be done. We're going to kill the burner, and we're going to shake it all out, and we're going to enjoy some delicious popcorn.
Now, sometimes there are parts that he's actually in here supposed to look at the popcorn machine. If you guys look at here, when he comes in there, especially, wait, right there. He's touching a popcorn machine.
Changes the addition of our old style popcorn maker.
And as you can see, the camera is trying to lean towards it. The AI taking care of it. I don't have to do anything. Watch the same scene.
I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker. The local culture is relaxed. We want people to come here and enjoy themselves. We've made lots of changes to our office. And our most recent change is the addition of our old style popcorn maker. All right.
Now, there's a little thing here. Camera kind of shift a little bit. I don't like that. Wait for it. Right there. If you notice that, the AI tried to reframe it. It doesn't know what is good, what is bad. And if it's not a human in there, there's no eyes, there's no mouth, there's no face. It may not recognize it, so you get a little confused. I got an idea, and when I select the option under the auto reframe and I select it to a smooth or a slower motion, it does a fantastic job. It does a really, really good job. Wait for it to render it. Now I'm going to play the same thing. There.
All right.
What he does, he doesn't panic right away. If he does, he tries to pan it. Looks like what a human would do, that you have a camera, you're pointing at something and some other event happened. You're not going to just suddenly, panicking around. You just pan the camera, right? And he does it the way a human would do that. So it looks very natural.
You can see
right there.
The kettle
See?
is popping in full force.
That's the AI doing it. If I turn this thing off into a no motion or fast motion, the camera just suddenly moves. So he's a very, very clever one.
The kettle is popping in full force.
I was very pleased and surprised when I saw it. As simple as just drag and drop in a filter called auto reframe, and then enabling the option slower motion, and you're good to go. Now the last part I need to do is add in a closed captioning. Now closed captioning could become the trickiest part, because not adding a closed captioning, that's the easy part. Getting the script. Now good news is I have this script. I asked Craig to literally basically type whatever he said. He watched the videos and he basically typed it in for me. So my job is basically copy paste. Let's take a look. To add a closed captioning for it, I'm going to go to the file, new caption. Now I'm going to select the closed captioning that I'm going to use this closed captioning, for example, for a Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever I want. In this case, definitely I'm going to use it for the Twitter here. So I'm going to select, for example, 608. 608 is a standard definition. 700 is a high definition. So I'm going to select the 608 because that's 640 by 640. And I'm going to click OK. Once I've done that, Adobe Premiere actually create a closed captioning as a video. I drag the caption on top of the video and I'm going to stretch it. Now, if I zoom into it, you guys can see there is a caption there, right there. But you don't see a caption here. I'll go to the settings, closed captioning, settings, and I have to make sure my closed captioning matches the other one. I use a 608. If I click OK, now you see a caption. I'll go to the window, find a panel called Captions. So window, caption. Sorry, my caption always opens in a wrong monitor. I use a captions. When I select it, here it is. So let's take a look how easily I can actually do this thing. I'll play the video.
Yeah.
You see, you start talking from here. Cam. I'll move this thing forward. The time codes all matches. And listen to what he says.
Cam, come on in. Your timing is perfect.
I stop. There we go. I go to the word. I copy it. All I have to do, just paste it in. Now, don't worry about this thing is weird. It says, Cam, come on in. Your timing, IST, supposed to say your timing is perfect. Don't worry about it. This is the way Premiere does that. They show you if you try to broadcast it on, let's say, normal TV, on a cable TV, this font may not look proper. So you can go in here and, for example, have an enter key and make it into 2 lines. You don't need to worry about this thing for the social media or anything on the web, because once you export it, you create an SRT file. And SRTs, they don't have a formatting. That means you hit the enter or you don't, it doesn't matter. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they let you to import your SRT file and then they add it themselves and then use their own font settings. So it makes no difference. So here, I know it looks really weird, but don't worry about it. I'm going to go forward. You will see this becomes very much an easy process.
I want to show you our new.
So you start talking from here. I add a new marker by clicking the plus. I'll move it forward. Here, start talking.
I want to show you our new popcorn maker.
Up to the popcorn maker, I stretch it. Then I go to my word and I copy it. Literally, it's a copy paste. Here it is. Again.
Come on in. Your timing is perfect. I want to show you our new popcorn maker.
Again, don't worry about this. Looks weird. When I export it, everything will look perfect. And I can continue this thing more and more.
The Elko culture.
Right here. He's about to say the Elko culture, so I click on the plus.
The Elko culture is relaxed. We want people to come here and enjoy themselves. We've made lots of changes to our office. And
I'm going to go all the way to themselves.
We want people to come here and enjoy themselves.
Right to the themselves. I stretch it. I go to Word. This will be much easier if you have a dual monitor, of course. And I copy, paste. Just like this.
The Elko culture is relaxed. We want people to come here and enjoy themselves.
If you plan for a broadcast, you can change this thing from a pop-on to, for example, 2-line or 3-line roll-up. If I do that, the text will roll upward.
The Elko culture is relaxed.
Of course, you need to kind of break it into a proper 3 lines like this. Now you will see that the text will roll up.
The Elko culture is relaxed.
As I said, none of these things are necessary when you guys exporting for the web. It doesn't matter because it will eventually become a 1 line. I'm just trying to make it into a 1 line to make sure you guys see it and not to worry about it. There. It looks really weird though, by the way, when you look at it this way. Let me remove the, sorry, I need to remove the space from it. And I deleted something again. This is kind of weird. That looks good. There.
The Elko culture.
The thing is, I got weird and got messy because in Adobe Premiere, you hit the space bar to play the video. And when I was in here, I hit the spaces a couple of times to play the video and mess things up. Now, how to export the video for social media? That's the easy part. All I need to do, go to the file and select export. Make sure to select the timeline. Then I select the media. I select the output and I choose H.264 for streaming from the list. Then I go to the preset, and as you can see, there's a lot of presets. However, if you look very carefully, there's a presets for Twitter 640 by 640. When I select it, everything perfectly matches. I'm not going to touch anything here, but I'm going to select the option called captions. Under the captions, I select create sidecar. Choose an SRT from the list. I'm going to click on the name of a file. I select my desktop, for example. I will call this thing Elko popcorn. I click save and I will click on a queue. When I click on queue, I have Adobe Media Encoder will appear. Adobe Media Encoder, the reason I want to do that because I want to export a couple of different versions of these things. For example, I want a normal Twitter and then a square Twitter. So this is a normal 640 by 640 Twitter. Let's just say if I want a normal one, I'll go back to Premiere. And remember, I had a normal here. Obviously, I can grab the caption from here and paste it, but I don't need to. You only need the caption from one of the videos, by the way. because SRT file is common between them. Just when it just loaded inside another one, doesn't matter, it's a high definition or is a squared one. So there's no chance for me to make another caption. All I need to do is select this one, and I do the same thing. File, export, media. This time I select H.264 by default, already there, and I choose, for example, Facebook 720, no, 1080. This video was 1080. Now, as you can see, there's no caption available because I didn't add a caption to this one. This video is much sharper and everything is okay. I'll click on Q. There are obvious options in Adobe Premiere that make your video looks better. For example, use maximum render quality. In here can obviously make your video much higher quality. Or if you select, for example, under the video option says render at maximum depth, all of these things will increase the quality of the video, but not the file size. Also, when it comes to the bitrate, you can select the VBR2 pass. These three options overall will make exporting video 5 to 10 times longer than a normal one. I try to save some time, so I'm not doing any of those things. This video, of course, will be on a desktop. I will call this thing Helico Popcorn FB for Facebook. All I gotta do, click on the little green arrow, and as you can see, the AI taking care of it, and the AI is exporting it. Once it's ready, Premiere will export the other file. I'll wait for it for a couple of seconds. Remember, if I had the high quality 2 pass and the maximum render quality, all of those things will make that video much longer to render. However, thanks to the graphic card, I have the CUDA. It exports very, very quickly, and for this session, it takes only 20 seconds. So for me, if I enable all those three options, it would have taken maybe a minute and a half. It's not a big deal. But if I use a software in there, it might have just taken 10 minutes instead. So they're done. Wait for it. 2 green arrows. I minimize my Premiere, get rid of the word, and here's my desktop. 2 videos and the SRT. If I open the one with the SRT one, this one, inside of VLC, look what happened. Open with VLC. VLC automatically reads the, oh, don't worry about that. See it? The caption.
I wanted to show you our new popcorn maker. The local culture is relaxed.
So
we want people to come here and enjoy.
Everything looks good as far as the caption goes, okay? Now you're gonna say, wait a minute, what happened to the video? Why is it so pixelated? Well, that's not really my fault. It's not really Adobe, technically it's Adobe's fault. So let's take a look. Remember I said, if you export videos, especially Twitter, if you select the low quality, unfortunately, you might get a pixelation. So I got an idea. When I select, everything is the same thing, by the way. Look, the captions, everything exactly the same thing. All I need to do, select use maximum render quality, use VBR2 pass, and use the high quality video for a render. If I queue it again for a Twitter, I'm gonna save it as this thing. I'm gonna put a TW at the end of it. Now look at the result. It takes longer to render for sure. The other one was 29, 30 seconds. This one is a 1 minute. So it's, as I said, it's a 3 times longer this time. But again, it's a minute on my laptop, doesn't really make much of a difference. When I go to project, you guys can see the CPUs running at full capacity and 2 graphic cards running at the same time to render it. The Intel one runs at 50%, the NVIDIA one runs at 35%, and the CPU runs at 70%. Three things at the same time, push and pull in to create a video, and it's done. The video quality will be very, very high quality. No pixelation. That's only, by the way, happens on Twitter. Nothing else. So let's take a look at the new one. Here's a new one. VLC. Now look at the quality. How's that?
Yeah. Come on in. Your timing is perfect.
And notice that the
I'm
going to turn off the audio here. Have you noticed that I told you don't worry about the text there? The text will be all fixed up because look, the fonts are even different. I wish there was a pause in there. I could pause it right there. So look at the fonts. If I go to the Premiere, that wasn't like that. Look, the text is there, but because the SRT is literally has no format, because it's a plain text, it doesn't matter. It reformats it. Every software will reformat it for you. By the way, this got to go. Oh, no, sorry. I thought there was a space in there. So here it is. You guys can also add, any kind of punctuation that is missing or you forgot. You can just add it in there and save the file. And now, for example, I'll put a happy face in there. If I save the file, close the VLC, and load the file again, you will see there's a happy face at the end of it. Right there. So you guys can clean it, type stuff in there if you wanted to, and you go from there. Obviously, the 1080p video is a lot better. The quality-wise is much, much, much sharper. You guys can tell all the text here. Let me find something. For example, on the back, he says, please remove all outer boots and shoes, and Alico authorized training centers and Apple one are all visible. But if I have the Twitter version, well, the first Twitter, remember the normal one we had without having the with the pixelation, you can even make it full screen. You guys cannot read that. That's impossible. See how bad it is. But the font is perfect. And then the other one is a lot cleaner. I can read it. There you go. Please remove all your boots. And the background is still visible. It's not as sharp as a 1080, of course, because that video is 640 by 640. But you guys can see that text on the wall. It's visible. And you guys can see the popcorn machine and everything else is perfectly visible. His shirt also is really visible. That's how you export for social media. Once you log into your social media, all you need to do, just load this file as a closed caption or a caption, and you're good to go. In some cases, I've had a student ask me, can I have a French version? Well, you know what? As I said, I can type whatever I want in there. You guys can type French also in there. I know the timing is going to be fast, but you can have English and French if you want to make it bilingual. Or you just want to have an English video with a French caption, go for it. But that's not a closed captioning for accessibility. That becomes more like a subtitle. But you can definitely do that. You can send this thing to somebody and say, don't touch the numbers, just replace this thing. Or give them the Word document and they translate it, just come in and copy paste it right here. Doesn't have to be anything special. That's how it is. So a couple of steps we've done. We have to edit the video in the first place. And once we got the editing done, is not the end of it. It's actually the beginning. The audio has to be fixed up because we had an issue with the audio, had to be cleaned up. So we use the nesting. So we only fix it once. Use the sound, essential sound panel. I use the reduced noise. After I fix that, I select the video, use the Adobe Luma color to adjust the color of it a little bit. Obviously, I can go and make the whole color shifts differently. And after I've fixed the color and everything else, and I'm happy with the result, we basically went and add a closed captioning to it by creating a caption, file new caption, and we choose our own caption, 608 for a standard definition, 708 for high definition. So if I need this thing to be captioned, I need to use a 708. But that doesn't matter, as I said. At the end of the day, whatever your text comes from becomes an SRT. And all you need to do, just load that SRT file inside the server. Now, if I rename this thing, then VLC will play it. This is called Popcorn FB. So if I go in there and rename this thing to Popcorn FB, the file now matching, if I play this video inside of VLC, this will have a closed captioning. Nope, it didn't. So it will if the names are matching. Copy, paste. It will work now, as long as they have exactly same name. There we go. The name appeared eventually because the VLC looks on the placement of the file, and then it looks for any text document as a SRT with exactly same name. You match the name and he loads it. That's simple, just like that. We are reaching the end of our session. I hope you guys enjoyed the time we had together today. Hour and a half time went very, very quickly for me, and I'll show you guys what's the best practices for creating a social media video. Keep the video around 60 seconds to 70 seconds. As you can see, I stay within my promise, and the whole thing is a 1 minute and 1 second. So it's a 61 seconds. That little marker helped me to constantly pay attention to what is the acceptable and what is the maximum and what's not acceptable for the length or the duration of the video. So keep using markers, a lot easier. Don't forget to use a nested object, essential sounds and color correction and everything else, and closed captioning. Add a caption on top of it and you're good to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this session, and hopefully see you guys in the other upcoming videos I have during the week. Bye for now.